forward, navigating our future together.
In a region bound by seas and stories, 11 nations found one dream. In 1967, 5 nations came together not by coincidence, but by courage. 50 years ago, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia was born. They dreamed of a Southeast Asia that would rise above its differences, a union not of uniformity, but of shared destiny. Today, more than 50 countries have acceded to the treaty, making it one of the world's most successful peace frameworks. The Philippines, being the first to sign and ratify the treaty, helped write this story. And now we continue its next chapter as we commemorate 50 years of the TAC in 2026. We carry the vision of navigating our future together. And in this shared story, the Philippines has always stood as a bridge, an archipelago that has hosted the world. The waves that unite our archipelagic nation also unite our region. The power of the tides charting our course together toward shared horizons. Our futures of shared oceans together, creating a wave of change much greater than its parts. We want to establish a rules-based and future-ready community. These built on the 3 pillars of ASEAN centrality. The Philippines will anchor regional stability and security through dialogue, conflict prevention and resolution, counter-terrorism and transnational crime cooperation, maritime security and defense collaboration, democracy, rule of law, and human rights. Economic growth so that progress reaches every shore through trade liberalization and economic integration, development of women-led SMEs, innovation, digital economy, and financial inclusion, and reducing development gaps among member countries. Through education, youth, and cultural exchange, environmental sustainability and disaster management, health, labor, gender equality, and inclusivity. We will also preserve cultural heritage and our shared ASEAN identity. We speak in many tongues, but share one language, the language of cooperation. In every handshake, every agreement, every shared dream, ASEAN reminds us our strength lies in our togetherness. Under Philippine chairship, ASEAN will stand united in its diversity. Together, we anchor peace, build prosperity corridors, and empower our people for a future that honors our past while capitalizing on our strength together. ASEAN is more than a union of nations. It is a living story, and the Philippines, its proud storyteller. One vision, one future, one community.
Mabuhay! Welcome to the Philippines. Welcome to ASEAN 2026.
ASEAN 2026, hosted by the Republic of the Philippines.
Hello, welcome to the ASEAN Business Media Exchange 2026, produced in support of the 48th ASEAN Summit. I'm Seferino Peri Rodolfo, Undersecretary for Investment Development and Investment Promotions of the Department of Trade and Industry. It is my privilege to moderate this conversation. Geopolitics and economics have always been intertwined, but rarely as visibly or as urgently as they are today. As the Middle East crisis continues to reshape trade flows, energy markets, and capital movements, the strategic question for ASEAN is clear. How does the region sustain growth and solidify its position as a premier destination for investment in a world defined by uncertainty? In this opening panel, we address that question directly. This is Beyond the Horizon, navigating geopolitical shocks and sustaining ASEAN's post-crisis growth. Joining us live in the studio are Mr. James Villafuerte, the Regional Lead Economist for ASEAN of the Asian Development Bank, and Mr. Jonas Marie Dumdum, Senior Consultant for NRI Singapore, the Manila branch. We are also joined online by Mr. Adam Schwartz, Founder and CEO of Asia Group Investors, coming live from Washington, D.C. So, let's start the discussions with Adam. If you don't mind, Adam, being the geopolitical strategist in the panel, what would you say are the major events that have been shaping geopolitics and trade and investments, not only globally, but that has impact on the ASEAN region?
Very, as you said in your opening remarks, geopolitics and economics have always been connected, but this year is certainly it's sort of been on steroids. It's been these two issues have sort of almost collided. So for ASEAN, it's been quite a challenging year, in large part because of the tariffs that have been put in place by the U.S. and the sort of disruption to the global trading rules and the global trading architecture more generally. So, really, since last April, ASEAN markets and countries have had to respond to the new reciprocal trade, the reciprocal tariffs on trade, and negotiate with three ASEAN
Good afternoon. Let me now open the 38th ASEAN Coordinating Council meeting. Let me start with my opening remarks. Excellency Secretary General of ASEAN, distinguished delegates, good afternoon. I am pleased to be joined by the ASEAN Economic Council Chair on my right, Honorable Cristina Roque, Secretary of Trade and Industry, and on my left, the ASEAN Sociocultural Chair, Honorable Rex Gatchalian, Secretary of Social Welfare and Development, at the chair seat this afternoon. After a full morning of discussions of the APSC Council meeting and the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, and of course, the ASEAN Economic Community Council meeting, we are now reconvening in our capacity as the ASEAN Coordinating Council to continue our work in preparation for the 48th ASEAN Summit proper tomorrow. As this is the first time the ACC is convening under the Philippine chairship, allow me to express our sincere appreciation to all pillar delegations for your deep and valued support for the Philippine ASEAN chairship. In the face of common challenges, economic pressures, and risks to the welfare of our peoples, ASEAN is called upon time and again to demonstrate the strength of our unity, resilience, and practical cooperation. In this regard, the Chair has seized the opportunity of the 48th ASEAN Summit for our leaders to focus, discuss, and chart a common direction on concrete actions among our ASEAN family, particularly on three urgent priorities. One, ensuring regional energy security and resilience. Two, stabilizing food security. And three, protecting ASEAN nationals. We address these priorities against the backdrop of the situation in the Middle East and its deeply felt effects on our region and peoples. Today, we also underscore the need for closer collaboration across all ASEAN community pillars, recognizing that no single country or sector can respond to the challenges of our interconnected world alone. At the same time, these challenges have demonstrated ASEAN's agility, unity, and shared purpose in turning shared concerns into opportunities for deeper cooperation across the three community pillars. Our meeting today offers a timely opportunity to take stock of ASEAN's progress across the three community pillars and our efforts on ASEAN connectivity, particularly as we forge ahead with the gains of the ASEAN Community Vision 2025 and move decisively in the first year of implementation of the ASEAN Community Vision 2045. Today, we will review the implementation of the decisions and commitments made by our leaders at the previous summit, consider cross-pillar and institutional matters that require our collective guidance, and ensure that the agenda before our leaders is clear, coherent, and focused on delivering meaningful outcomes for our region. As we prepare for the 48th ASEAN Summit, let us continue to be guided by ASEAN unity, ASEAN centrality, and our shared commitment to concrete cooperation for the benefit of our peoples as we navigate our future together. At this juncture, I wish to thank the members of the press and for joining us in this particular segment. Thank you. Thank you, and with that, let us turn to the first order of business. May I invite you to turn to the provisional agenda for this meeting found in document number 1 in your document kits.
poor and vulnerable.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Jonas, you mentioned earlier about the shift to renewable energy, and you did mention something very important: harmonization, coordination, for example, of infrastructure and standards. How do you see that happening in ASEAN? So, for example, if I buy an electric vehicle from, let's say, Vietnam or from Indonesia, can I automatically just use that and charge that given the electrical system, power systems here in the Philippines?
Well, in terms of the technical aspects of renewable energy, I think ASEAN is really on its way to be more harmonized compared to our neighbors in the rest of the Asia Pacific. And I think it's really because the discussions on the science and technology aspects and on the energy aspects of renewable energy has been fruitful across the 11 countries now of ASEAN. And the impact really is that you see Green GSM, for example, which is powered by VinFast, a Vietnamese car company, rolling in the streets of the capital without any much issue. And they're charging using not just their own home chargers, but even like the BYDs, which is very, very amazing. And also I guess, but the challenge though is really more on not just on the procurement of the infrastructure, but actually how do you make it more efficient? Energy efficiency remains, I guess, is the biggest issue in Southeast Asia, and that's something that we need to now put forward in discussions.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. Now, zooming out again, can we go back to Washington, D.C., to Adam? You did mention that all of these things that are happening can lead to regional fragmentation, or on the other side, it can also be an opportunity for further consolidation. Given that the Philippines is now chairing ASEAN, what do you think should ASEAN do in response to all of these crises from the perspective of an institutional body? Thank you, James.
Well, thank you, Perry. I think there's a lot of things under discussion. As you know, the Philippines has commissioned an ASEAN geoeconomics group to sort of think through those very questions, and carrying on from a similar body that Malaysia had set up under its chairmanship here. Yeah, and I think they're looking at a number of issues both at the policy and at the institutional level. I think policy, looking at moving in the direction of certain industrial policies on key sectors to try to strengthen those and strengthen resilience of the region. Energy, food, digital to a certain extent are kind of the key ones that are being discussed. I think the region and individual countries are all pursuing trade diversification to try to get a more balanced portfolio of trade partners and trade volumes, in part to sort of limit the tariff shock coming from the U.S. And we'll see sort of where that ends up at kind of how big a shock that is at the end of the day. At the institutional level, again, a number of key issues that are being discussed. One is really sort of how to get a stronger institutional presence, either via the Secretariat or through new bodies. The second one is how to more effectively engage the private sector. There are a number of ASEAN companies in this era of where scale becomes so important that want to sort of operate across ASEAN, use ASEAN as a regional production hub, a regional consumer base, but there are still a number of policies and non-tariff barriers that are getting in the way. I think there's an interest on both sides to sort of incorporate more of the ASEAN private sector input into the policy making to sort of clear away some of those hurdles and to enable ASEAN to be leveraged, to use that word, as a region as opposed to a set of markets. So there's quite a lot of interesting ideas, and in certain ways, this crisis has brought to the table a number of good ideas that some would argue that ASEAN should have been doing and should be doing anyway. So it may find itself coming out stronger at the end of the day.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adam. So in terms of the priorities that you mentioned, so indeed the Philippines has been prioritizing, particularly for the ASEAN Summit discussions, three key areas: food, fuel, and people. As you may well know, of course, for the Philippines, our overseas Filipino workers form a pillar for our economy, and surely it's a sector that we are focusing on in terms of protecting. Now, for food, fuel, and for people, can I just ask James or Jonas, what could the Philippines be doing better in terms of food, resiliency, for example, of agriculture? You did mention earlier, James, that somehow now we are seeing that the race to efficiency would have to be balanced by resiliency. Same with fuel. Jonas, you mentioned earlier, within the region, we have been overly reliant on sources for fuel outside of the region, and then for our overseas Filipino workers. Those are the three priorities of the President moving to the ASEAN Summit. Yeah. Any thoughts on those, any of those three? We start with James.
I think the most important, people and food security are actually one and the same, because if our people doesn't have food, no? Can they work? How can they function as effective society? And I think what we are seeing in terms of food security, I think are twofolds. One is our food system has become so tradable dependent, no? Okay. That whenever there are shocks, we are affected in terms of price as well as in terms of access. I think we need to actually shorten the supply chain. Okay. But part of the problem in the Philippines is the farm holdings have actually declined from 3 hectares to about 1.3 hectares. No? And this small, the diminution of the size of the farms have led to a small productivity levels as well as lack of incentive for private sector to invest. So I think we should probably focus on farm clustering. Okay. The second one is really adopt technology and mechanization so that we can raise the level of productivity in the agriculture sector. And the ADB last year has actually identified about 40 billion to support food security in Asia Pacific. So that's what I can add.
Okay, thank you very much, James. Now, Jonas.
I think to add to what James said, it's not just actually on making sure that you shorten the supply chain, you also make it more resilient in the long term. And I'd like to throw the concept of climate smart when it comes to infrastructure, agriculture, even in transport. No? I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges right now is not just to shorten it, but make sure that it's there for 50, 100 years. And we're also seeing a dual crisis in the future where it's not just going to be impacted by things overseas, but also something that we can feel. It's now hotter this year compared to last year as a reference. So how do we ensure that we innovate to tackle those twin crises, both the external, something we cannot control, and something a bit more closer to home that I believe we can really harness and do something about it. Yeah.
Renewable energy, how do you see that in terms of adoption in the Philippines? We've talked about consumer products like electric vehicles, but how about on the other side? Meaning renewable energy as a viable source of power for the Philippines. And how do you see our transition to renewable energy?
Well, the Philippines has always welcomed renewable energy ever since, even like in the 70s and even the 80s. There have been conversations that been going around saying that the Philippines actually was a renewable nation before the shocks of both overseas and here in the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s. So the challenge is, how do you go back to that mindset? How do you go back to that idea? But you also ensure that you're powering all three island groups, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. And that's where the resilience now comes in, where the energy efficiency discussion comes in. And how do you ensure that there is good access to electricity for all?
Thank you, Jonas. James, good segue.
Yes.
Recent announcement from ADB.
Yes, I think on top of that, I think aside from renewable energy, investment in the grid is very important for the region, because the grid actually allows the use of energy from regions which can produce but doesn't have much demand. And in ASEAN, we have the ASEAN Power Grid, which is a priority project for ADB and also for the region. And at the annual meeting in Samarkand, our ADB president actually announced the Pan-Asia Power Grid Integration, or PAGI, and ADB, I think, allotted about 50 billion to support this initiative. And this initiative aims to invest in 20 gigawatt of renewable, invest in 22,000 kilometers of transmission line to power about over 200 million households. So I think this focus really on energy security is one of an important priority, because as what we are saying, this shock on oil and gas will not end. This will be a continuing shock. And I think only by investing in renewable energy and allowing power trade within the region can ASEAN have regional energy security.
And you did also announce recently a critical minerals fund.
Yes. So critical minerals is front and center in this, I think, energy security story, because particularly for solar, you need batteries to be able to handle the intermittency of the solar energy. You cannot put it directly into the grid. There will be some technical difficulties. And one of the core materials of batteries is actually these critical minerals.
Yes.
And what we are seeing from the energy crisis is we need to avoid a single energy corridor.
Yes.
And as a source for solar panels, we need to also avoid a single source for solar, which is China. That's why I think ASEAN is trying to also develop its own ability to produce parts and components that are needed for this renewable energy. And that's where this critical minerals supply chain project comes in.
So when you talk about integration, actually, of power grids, of supply chains, it's not really just interconnecting the power transmission of all of the different ASEAN countries. Because Philippines, of course, we are an archipelagic nation, archipelagic country, and most definitely it will be more difficult to connect us to, let's say, mainland ASEAN.
Yes. There are two types of connections in the ASEAN Power Grid. The land-based, what we call the land-based connection, and this is already happening in the GMS area. Like, for example, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, they can also interconnect, even going to Malaysia. But there's also the archipelagic ASEAN Power Grid, which will be interconnected through subsea cable. It's a little bit more expensive, but I think the technology is there. And this is really needed because, like, for example, there are power-hungry economies in Southeast Asia like Singapore, which needs to get its power, and it can only interconnect through subsea cables.
Yes. And you did mention critical minerals and their role in terms of, let's say, providing components for batteries. Jonas, for the Philippines, we are very rich in terms of what we call as green metals. Nickel, copper, including cobalt. From a climate change sustainability perspective, how do you see Philippines being able to take advantage of its richness in critical minerals, green metals?
That's a very good question. And we've been having that conversation not just in the energy sector, but also in the mining sector on how to best harness the things that we dig up on the ground. What we're seeing is that we really want to have a significant investment in creating the batteries here. There are startup companies. Actually, they're based in Metro Manila that are trying to promote that and develop our own systems. We hope that the government and even our counterparts in ASEAN would be ready to support these kinds of initiatives. Not just to spur innovation, but also really to make things cheaper for us.
You may be referring to nascent?
Yes, nascent.
So for our viewers, we do have a startup in the Philippines called Nascent that is composed of, I think about 12 faculty members from UP. Really top-notch scientists that have gone into research on battery technology, and they put up a startup on sodium-based batteries. So, but of course, you also have our ambition would have to be elevated from the startup companies to reach, for example, the point of where Vietnam is. Like, for example, for VinFast, you mentioned earlier, the GSM taxis that we now have in the Philippines, but we are getting there.
Very good.
Adam, you might have also monitored that Mitsubishi Motors has announced that they are going to put up a hybrid assembly manufacturing facility, a hybrid SUV assembly manufacturing facility here in the Philippines. This morning, they came out with the number of 7 billion pesos. Given the geopolitical situation in the region, how do you see Philippines as a destination for FDIs for investments?
Well, I think just continuing on with what Jonas and James were saying, I think across the board, renewable energy, the green transition, oddly enough, in some ways, may be one of the beneficiaries of both, obviously most recently the conflict in the Middle East, but the disruptions to the trade, climate and the trade system more generally, because it is part of not just it's not just the renewable part, but green energy now has such a big role to play in energy resilience. So I think across the region we're seeing countries looking to make these investments and attract the investments that will help contribute to that resilience. You mentioned a very good example with the hybrid car plant that Mitsubishi is doing, but we see this, from Malay, a lot of cross-border renewable energy is starting to take place from, to try to kind of connect supply and demand. So, hydro going from Malaysia into Singapore, or solar power from Batam and Bintan, Indonesia, over to Singapore, which is, of course, requiring and starting to build a lot more undersea cables. We're seeing EV production and purchases go up around the region. We're seeing, Indonesia is about to put in a B50, a biodiesel, very high biodiesel mandate in Indonesia. So across the region, I think different countries are doing it in different ways, and certainly the Philippines, with its geography and its capacity to build renewable energy, should be right in the forefront of that movement.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. We're in the last 8 minutes of this panel discussion. Very interesting because we've covered a lot of topics, from ASEAN as an institution to food, fuel, as well as mobility of people, ADB policies, transition to green energy. If you are to be asked, what would be your parting message to our viewers, particularly as Philippines is now chair of ASEAN? And how could, for example, ASEAN countries navigate through all of these things that are happening to come out better? First, as a regional grouping, and then Philippines as a country. We can start with Jonas. We'll do the reverse. Jonas, James, and then Adam. Thank you.
I guess if there's a central theme to all of this, it's really to listen to your most important stakeholders and try to understand what the needs are, try to see what's really important to them and address these accordingly, because we have the strengths as Southeast Asia and as a Filipino, and I believe that we do have the skills, the knowledge. It's really just more of enhancing, innovating, and really harnessing those talent. As a son of an OFW, I can definitely tell you that we are the most creative in the world, and I truly believe that. And hopefully, we can harness our OFWs, our people basically, to make sure that the Philippines and Southeast Asia would be one of the best places to live, work, and hopefully stay in.
Well said, Jonas. Thank you. James?
My parting thoughts will be, let's not waste a crisis. Now, this crisis is big enough. We need to work together to be able to mitigate the impact and build a more resilient and sustainable future for ASEAN. I think some key principles that we need to think about is regional self-insurance, regionally integrated supply chains, and also the use of innovative and technological solutions to address some of the problems that we are facing. And ADB has stepped up as a preferred bank for ASEAN to support the region in terms of all its investment needs. Thank you, Perry.
Thank you, James. And now, Adam?
Well, I agree very strongly with James that the key here is to not to let a crisis go to waste. Okay. I think there's I think every country will have to do what's in its own national interest, but I think without forgetting that the region is better off with a strong and functional ASEAN as a regional grouping. And so, part of the challenge for the Philippines as the chair is to try to find that balance for the group, to try to help guide the group to a balance between obviously doing what needs to be done at the national level to protect those interests, but also to figure out how a stronger region, a more robust region can actually supplement what the individual members are going to do to find a good way out of all of these disruptions. So, we're already seeing in the dialogues where the foreign ministers, the economic ministers are, decreasingly operating in silos and increasingly working together in recognition of the point that you started this conversation with, which is that geopolitics and geoeconomics are now, very just two sides of the same coin. So I think there's quite a lot that can be done to sort of make sure that the region doesn't get left behind as the countries have to respond to these new challenges, but rather that the region itself can respond and together with what the countries are doing individually, the group comes out stronger out of the other end of this.
Okay, thank you, Adam. So the key messages are, number one, let's not waste this crisis. There are opportunities that we can take advantage of. Number two, we're not starting from scratch. We do have the policies, actually from way back, 70s, 80s, and even the most recent policies that were introduced by government. For example, the lifting of equity restrictions on renewable energy projects. And then from Adam, of course, Philippines first does not mean Philippines alone. We will work together within the ASEAN region. The only way for us to strengthen ASEAN as an institution and ASEAN as a region will be by working together. With that, I would like to thank the panelists for joining our session today. Trade flows are shifting, energy markets are being repriced, and capital is looking for certainty in an uncertain world. With what this panel has demonstrated is that ASEAN is not waiting for the dust to settle before acting. The policy directions have already been set and reforms are underway, and the investment case for the region remains as strong as ever. The post-crisis growth story for ASEAN is not a projection. It is already in motion. Please stay with us for more episodes of the ASEAN Business Media Exchange 2026.
calls our name across the seas. We are the same. Through tides that rise, through storms that wane, we sail as one beneath the sun. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
The stars above, they light our way. From golden dawns to dusky grays, we weave the threads of hope today. With every shore, we dream for more.
One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of
In 2026, the Philippines takes the helm of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations at a pivotal time for our region, a region of nearly 700 million people poised to become the world's fourth largest economy by 2030. Guided by the theme, Navigating Our Future Together, the ASEAN Philippines 2026 chairship reflects the journey of a region united in diversity, moving forward with shared vision, deeper connection, and renewed purpose. This spirit comes to life in the ASEAN 2026 logo, a symbol rooted in tradition, shaped by innovation, and inspired by the strength of a community charting a common course. At its heart is the Balangay, a pre-colonial Filipino boat reimagined here to represent the ASEAN vessel, many nations aboard one journey, navigating the currents of global transformation side by side. Flowing beneath it is a wave, drawn from the waters that connect our member states. These seas have long carried our trade, our dialogue, and our solidarity. Anchoring the design is a golden rice stalk, a symbol of nourishment, resilience, and our shared pursuit of food security. Look closely. 11 grains line the stalk, each one representing a member state, including Timor-Leste, recently welcomed into our ASEAN family. Interwoven into the design is a weave pattern, reflecting our strength and diversity, cultures, values, and aspirations bound together in one vibrant tapestry of unity and progress. Together, these elements mirror the Philippines' priority as chair, securing peace, building prosperity, and empowering people. This is not just a logo, it's a call to journey forward, navigating our future together.
In a region bound by seas and stories, 11 nations found one dream. In 1967, 5 nations came together not by coincidence, but by courage. 50 years ago, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia was born. They dreamed of a Southeast Asia that would rise above its differences, a union not of uniformity, but of shared destiny. Today, more than 50 countries have acceded to the treaty, making it one of the world's most successful peace frameworks. The Philippines, being the first to sign and ratify the treaty, helped write this story. And now we continue its next chapter as we commemorate 50 years of the TAC in 2026. We carry the vision of navigating our future together. And in this shared story, the Philippines has always stood as a bridge, an archipelago that has hosted the world. The waves that unite our archipelagic nation also unite our region. The power of the tides charting our course together toward shared horizons. Our futures of shared oceans together, creating a wave of change much greater than its parts. We want to establish a rules-based and future-ready community. These built on the 3 pillars of ASEAN centrality. The Philippines will anchor regional stability and security through dialogue, conflict prevention and resolution, counter-terrorism and transnational crime cooperation, maritime security and defense collaboration, democracy, rule of law, and human rights. Economic growth so that progress reaches every shore through trade liberalization and economic integration, development of women-led SMEs, innovation, digital economy, and financial inclusion, and reducing development gaps among member countries. Through education, youth and cultural exchange, environmental sustainability and disaster management, health, labor, gender equality, and inclusivity. We will also preserve cultural heritage and our shared ASEAN identity. We speak in many tongues, but share one language, the language of cooperation. In every handshake, every agreement, every shared dream, ASEAN reminds us our strength lies in our togetherness. Under Philippine chairship, ASEAN will stand united in its diversity. Together, we anchor peace, build prosperity corridors, and empower our people for a future that honors our past while capitalizing on our strength together. ASEAN is more than a union of nations. It is a living story, and the Philippines, its proud storyteller. One vision, one future, one community.
Mabuhay! Welcome to the Philippines. Welcome to ASEAN 2026.
ASEAN 2026, hosted by the Republic of the Philippines.
Foreign and Economic Ministers meeting. Without further ado, may I invite Her Excellency Maria Teresa P. Lazaro, Secretary of Foreign Affairs of the Philippines, to proceed with the meeting. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. 2 months have now passed since the United States and Israel launched preemptive military strikes against Iran, and of course, Iran coming up with their own strikes on the other GCC countries. While the United States and Iran have still trying to announce a definite diplomatic solution, in sight, and the vital Strait of Hormuz still remains severely restricted. A cloud of uncertainty remains over the Middle East, over the prospects for full de-escalation and sustained diplomatic engagement by all parties concerned. Recalling our ASEAN foreign ministers' statement on the developments in the Middle East, which we issued on 13 April, we urge all parties in the Middle East to continue negotiations that will lead to the permanent end of the conflict and lasting peace and stability in the region. The impacts of this prolonged conflict have now blurred the lines between the political and the economic to gradually affecting the lives of millions of people across ASEAN. Our energy security, food security, and safety of ASEAN nationals have been brought out as the most urgent priorities for our region to address. Hence, during our recent special ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, both 13 March and 13 April, we underscored the urgent need to convene the joint ASEAN Foreign and Economic Ministers meeting, also known as the AMM-AEM, as the challenges facing ASEAN ask of us to master collective resolve and navigate our future together as a united ASEAN community. As you are all aware, the Philippines has declared a state of national energy emergency, which has prompted us to recalibrate our ASEAN chairship with austerity measures in place amidst uncertain fuel supply and rising inflation. On the 48th ASEAN Summit, which takes place tomorrow, we will focus on the most urgent priorities of addressing energy security, food security, and safety of ASEAN nationals. With this in mind, we will look to issue at the summit an ASEAN leader statement on the response to the Middle East, which expresses not just our unified position, but also the foundation for our response to future crises. At this juncture, allow me to extend on behalf of the foreign ministers gratitude to the economic ministers present today, this afternoon, for your presence today, which speaks volumes of your strong sense of responsibility and urgency to our shared objectives. We stand ready to work closely with all ASEAN member states in the ASEAN Secretariat in collectively pursuing decisive actions and concrete measures with the immediate challenges facing ASEAN. Excuse me. As we have witnessed in the past, ASEAN has weathered many types of crises, whether they be natural disasters, financial meltdowns, or even a once-in-a-generation pandemic, by leaning into our values of coordination, openness, and unity to prioritize support for each other. Our region has proven that we can go further and attain more together rather than as individual member states. May we have a productive and meaningful discussion this afternoon. And now may I invite my colleague, Secretary of Trade and Industry of the Philippines, Honorable Cristina Roque, to deliver her opening remarks.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Excellencies, colleagues, friends, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to co-chair this joint meeting with Secretary Tess. The economic ministers have had a productive session today, and it is both timely and necessary that we now meet together with our foreign ministers. Developments in the Middle East have shown how quickly external shocks can reshape our region. What began as a distant crisis is now affecting energy prices, supply chains, and economic conditions across ASEAN. These are not isolated effects. These are a reminder that our economies and our vulnerabilities are closely linked. We are already seeing the consequences. Higher fuel and food prices are straining households, businesses, especially MSMEs, are managing rising costs and uncertainties. This is precisely why this joint meeting matters. The issues before us do not fall neatly into either foreign policy or economic policy. They cut across both. Energy security, trade flows, and supply chain resilience are shaped by geopolitical developments just as they are economic decisions. Addressing them requires us to work across our pillars, not in parallel but together. In this regard, economic ministers are keen to hear how our foreign ministers assess the situation and how they see developments unfolding in the coming months. These perspectives are critical in helping us better anticipate risks and calibrate our economic responses. At the same time, this meeting is an opportunity to engage candidly, to test our assumptions, and to align our actions and plans where we can assist each other. Our chairship theme, Navigating Our Future Together, speaks directly to the moment. No member state can manage these challenges alone. Our responses must be coordinated, practical, and timely. We should focus on a few clear priorities: strengthening coordination to stabilize energy supply and manage price pressures, addressing risks to food security and supply chain disruptions early, and ensuring that our businesses, particularly the MSMEs, are supported so they can continue to operate and to grow. ASEAN has faced uncertainty before. Each time, we have made progress when we acted with clarity and with coordination. If we act together, we reinforce stability. If we act decisively, we strengthen confidence. And if we focus on implementation, we deliver results our people can feel. I look forward to a focused and productive discussion and to concrete steps that we will take. Thank you, and we now come to an end to our open session. May I request members of the media to kindly leave the room as we proceed to the closed session. Thank you.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Today, Cebu welcomes ASEAN leaders to the 48th ASEAN Summit and related meetings. As ASEAN chair this year, the Philippines carries with pride and resolve the responsibility of shaping the future of the region. It has been 9 years since the Philippines last chairs ASEAN. Since then, our region has shown remarkable resilience, overcoming major obstacles and making meaningful progress. But our work is far from over. As we continue to wrestle against an increasingly complex global environment where prompt and sustained cooperation is crucial. And that is why our theme this year, Navigating Our Future Together, is both timely and necessary. For the Philippines, this is not just a statement, but a commitment that anchors our strategic intent in steering a future that is peaceful, prosperous, and people-centered. We underscore that the only way forward is for ASEAN to remain united, coalescing as a force for good in the region, with ASEAN centrality as our guiding principle. This year, we welcome Timor-Leste as a full-fledged member of ASEAN, a reflection of the continued relevance of regional cooperation and our shared commitment to the ideals of multilateralism. The Philippines, together with other ASEAN member states, will engage in productive dialogue and exchange views on regional and global issues. Mindful of the problems confronting ASEAN peoples today, we will spotlight 3 main priorities: energy security, food security, and the safety of ASEAN nationals across the world. At this summit, I will lead discussions on how the region can bolster regional preparedness, ensure stable energy supply, and accelerate energy diversification to reduce vulnerability to external shocks, including those stemming from the conflict in the Middle East. I will push to strengthen food security in the region, keeping the free flow of essential goods and building measures to support farmers and MSMEs. I will also ensure that ASEAN nationals across the world feel the impact of what we do here in the region. Their safety is equally important, recognizing the contribution of overseas ASEAN nationals in our societies and our economies. As chair, the Philippines will continue to champion the founding ideals of ASEAN: peaceful coexistence, mutual respect, and cooperation for shared benefit. We will continue to stress that as one region, our efforts will truly be effective on the basis of a unified approach and collective vision. Through these actions, we will embrace an ASEAN where its peoples enjoy a secure, peaceful, and stable future. As Cebu takes center stage for the 48th ASEAN Summit, the Philippines warmly welcomes all delegations with a mark of Filipino hospitality, one that is rooted in our rich cultural heritage, shaped by timeless traditions and animated through people's openness and warmth. Para sa bayan, para sa ASEAN. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
whisper in the breeze, it calls our name. Across the seas, we are the same. Through tides that rise, through storms that wane, we sail as one beneath the sun. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
The stars above, they light our way. From golden dawns to dusky grays, we weave the threads of hope today. With every shore, we dream for more.
One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of
In 2026, the Philippines takes the helm of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations at a pivotal time for our region, a region of nearly 700 million people poised to become the world's fourth largest economy by 2030. Guided by the theme, Navigating Our Future Together, the ASEAN Philippines 2026 chairship reflects the journey of a region united in diversity, moving forward with shared vision, deeper connection, and renewed purpose. This spirit comes to life in the ASEAN 2026 logo, a symbol rooted in tradition, shaped by innovation, and inspired by the strength of a community charting a common course. At its heart is the Balangay, a pre-colonial Filipino boat reimagined here to represent the ASEAN vessel, many nations aboard one journey, navigating the currents of global transformation side by side. Flowing beneath it is a wave, drawn from the waters that connect our member states. These seas have long carried our trade, our dialogue, and our solidarity. Anchoring the design is a golden rice stalk, a symbol of nourishment, resilience, and our shared pursuit of food security. Look closely. 11 grains line the stalk, each one representing a member state, including Timor-Leste, recently welcomed into our ASEAN family. Interwoven into the design is a weave pattern, reflecting our strength and diversity, cultures, values, and aspirations bound together in one vibrant tapestry of unity and progress. Together, these elements mirror the Philippines' priority as chair, securing peace, building prosperity, and empowering people. This is not just a logo, it's a call to journey forward, navigating our future together.
In a region bound by seas and stories, 11 nations found one dream. In 1967, 5 nations came together not by coincidence, but by courage. 50 years ago, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia was born. They dreamed of a Southeast Asia that would rise above its differences, a union not of uniformity, but of shared destiny. Today, more than 50 countries have acceded to the treaty, making it one of the world's most successful peace frameworks. The Philippines, being the first to sign and ratify the treaty, helped write this story. And now we continue its next chapter as we commemorate 50 years of the TAC in 2026. We carry the vision of navigating our future together. And in this shared story, the Philippines has always stood as a bridge, an archipelago that has hosted the world. The waves that unite our archipelagic nation also unite our region. The power of the tides charting our course together toward shared horizons. Our futures of shared oceans together, creating a wave of change much greater than its parts. We want to establish a rules-based and future-ready community. These built on the 3 pillars of ASEAN centrality. The Philippines will anchor regional stability and security through dialogue, conflict prevention and resolution, counter-terrorism and transnational crime cooperation, maritime security and defense collaboration, democracy, rule of law, and human rights. Economic growth so that progress reaches every shore through trade liberalization and economic integration, development of women-led SMEs, innovation, digital economy, and financial inclusion, and reducing development gaps among member countries. Through education, youth and cultural exchange, environmental sustainability and disaster management, health, labor, gender equality, and inclusivity. We will also preserve cultural heritage and our shared ASEAN identity. We speak in many tongues, but share one language, the language of cooperation. In every handshake, every agreement, every shared dream, ASEAN reminds us our strength lies in our togetherness. Under Philippine chairship, ASEAN will stand united in its diversity. Together, we anchor peace, build prosperity corridors, and empower our people for a future that honors our past while capitalizing on our strength together. ASEAN is more than a union of nations. It is a living story, and the Philippines, its proud storyteller. One vision, one future, one community.
Mabuhay! Welcome to the Philippines. Welcome to ASEAN 2026.
ASEAN 2026, hosted by the Republic of the Philippines.
Whisper in the breeze, it calls our name. Across the seas, we are the same. Through tides that rise, through storms that wane, we sail as one beneath the sun. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
The stars above, they light our way from golden dawns to dusky grays. We weave the threads of hope today. With every shore, we dream for more.
One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
In 2026, the Philippines takes the helm of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations at a pivotal time for our region, a region of nearly 700 million people poised to become the world's fourth largest economy by 2030. Guided by the theme, Navigating Our Future Together, the ASEAN Philippines 2026 chairship reflects the journey of a region united in diversity, moving forward with shared vision, deeper connection, and renewed purpose. This spirit comes to life in the ASEAN 2026 logo. a symbol rooted in tradition, shaped by innovation, and inspired by the strength of a community charting a common course. At its heart is the Balangay, a pre-colonial Filipino boat reimagined here to represent the ASEAN vessel, many nations aboard one journey, navigating the currents of global transformation side by side. Flowing beneath it is a wave, drawn from the waters that connect our member states. These seas have long carried our trade, our dialogue, and our solidarity. Anchoring the design is a golden rice stalk, a symbol of nourishment, resilience, and our shared pursuit of food security. Look closely. 11 grains line the stalk, each one representing a member state, including Timor-Leste, recently welcomed into our ASEAN family. Interwoven into the design is a weave pattern, reflecting our strength and diversity, cultures, values, and aspirations bound together in one vibrant tapestry of unity and progress. Together, these elements mirror the Philippines' priority as chair, securing peace, building prosperity, and empowering people. This is not just a logo, it's a call to journey forward, navigating our future together.
In a region bound by seas and stories, 11 nations found one dream. In 1967, 5 nations came together not by coincidence, but by courage. 50 years ago, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia was born. They dreamed of a Southeast Asia that would rise above its differences, a union not of uniformity, but of shared destiny. Today, more than 50 countries have acceded to the treaty, making it one of the world's most successful peace frameworks. The Philippines, being the first to sign and ratify the treaty, helped write this story. And now we continue its next chapter as we commemorate 50 years of the TAC in 2026. We carry the vision of navigating our future together. And in this shared story, the Philippines has always stood as a bridge, an archipelago that has hosted the world. The waves that unite our archipelagic nation also unite our region. The power of the tides charting our course together toward shared horizons. Our futures of shared oceans together, creating a wave of change much greater than its parts. We want to establish a rules-based and future-ready community. These built on the 3 pillars of ASEAN centrality. The Philippines will anchor regional stability and security through dialogue, conflict prevention, and
Hello, I'm Mikey Oreta, and we're coming to you from the Bagong Pilipinas studios in Mandaluyong, happening alongside the 48th ASEAN Summit. Now, this is the ASEAN Business Media Exchange 2026, where leaders in business, investment, and policy come together to discuss the issues shaping ASEAN's future. And right now, one of the biggest questions facing the region is this. As costs rise, supply chains remain under pressure, and capital becomes more selective. So where does investor confidence stand today? And what will it take to keep ASEAN competitive and investment ready? This is Proven Resilience Investor Confidence in Action. Joining us for this discussion are Dr. Ceferino Rodolfo, Undersecretary for Investment, Development, and Promotions at the Department of Trade and Industry, and Mr. Hiroyasu Kanda, the Managing Director and Country Head of Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, Manila. Hello, gentlemen, and thank you for being here with us.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's start with this. There's a lot going on amidst the oil shock in the Middle East. The ADB cut its growth forecast for developing Asia to 4.7%, while inflation pressures, currency weakness, and higher energy costs are forcing investors to rethink risk across the region. In this environment, how would you describe investor sentiment in the ASEAN today?
If I may just start, actually the biggest enemy of investor confidence is uncertainty. And in this context, because of the uncertainties brought about by what is happening from the tariffs to the Middle East crisis, what it has brought about is a more conscious investment attitude towards ASEAN in general and across sectors. But I have to say that there are certain key sectors that have been receiving a lot of attention, and not just attention, a lot of action from investors. So there are opportunities within the crisis. And for the Philippines, we are fortunate enough to have already, even before the crisis, laid down the foundation so that we can accelerate the actions by investors on these particular sectors.
No one saw this coming, but we have a stable foundation and we're going to build on that.
Yes.
Kanda-san, would you like to add the outlook for investments in ASEAN today?
Yeah, so as we are the Japanese bank, so let me just touch upon the Japanese investors' trends. I believe Japanese investors still have a strong interest in looking for the business opportunities in the Philippines. And of course, given the current the significant changes in the environment, so they are definitely reviewing their business strategy and their future scenario as for now. But we, SMBC, are confident that Philippines still attract more Japanese investors to invest into the Philippines.
Okay, just building on that, Yusek Perry, what kind of investment momentum are you seeing in the Philippines today? And given the oil shock that took place in March, has there been a change in the in the uptake?
Mainly in terms of the sectors. So like for example, what we're seeing is that greater action in terms of implementing investment commitments that have already been made in renewable energy. You might remember, Mikey, that in 2022, we have already lifted the foreign equity restrictions on renewable energy projects. And this has led to really a strong investments when it comes to offshore and onshore wind power projects, on inland and floating solar power projects, as well as other renewable energy projects. So there's a strong implementation of this from both the investor side and of course from government side. So we are we saw this as an opportunity to facilitate the permitting processes needed to implement these projects. So renewable energy, and then moving forward, mining and mineral processing. Next would be digital infrastructure. So from submarine cables to fiber optic networks to telco towers to data centers. And then a low-hanging fruit that we really have to always remember and push is tourism. And then high-value manufacturing, including semiconductors and electronics.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of good things in the pipeline, especially with green lane facilities that the government has implemented. When we talk about the investment pipeline, renewable energy is huge, as with many other things. But the thing with renewable energy is that given the oil shock in the Middle East, it's accelerated the demand. How has the oil shock led to the acceleration of developments in renewable energy, from everything from permitting all the way down to actual implementation? How has that sped things up?
So maybe we could take this opportunity to discuss how we are looking at the promotion of the development of sectors, including renewable energy. We're looking at 4 Ps. First P is policy reform. Second P is very important, would be the permitting process. And then third P would be the partnerships. And then the fourth P would be the people or workforce development. On renewable energy in particular, on policy reform, we have the policies in place prior to the crisis. So the next step would really be your permitting process. You mentioned, Mikey, about the Green Lane facility. The President has issued in 2023 an executive order mandating Green Lane facilities or accelerated and facilitated simultaneous processing of permits and licenses for key strategic sectors, including on renewable energy. So very, very concrete example. Right now, we have, for example, the Meralco or MGen's Terra Solar facility. They started by enrolling in our Green Lane facility. After they have enrolled in that, and after we have assisted them together with the Department of Energy, DILG, all of the government working as one, facilitating the permits for this project without sacrificing, by the way, sustainability standards and labor standards.
Of course.
We cut red tape, but we don't cut corners. So when we have done that already and the commercial case is already very apparent, then they have moved to the commercial phase by enrolling or registering in the BOI for incentives.
So, you Secretary, how much have the timelines changed? Things are moving quicker at a quicker pace. By how much?
Okay. So very quickly also, there are permits that we have already cut down. So let's say from 3 years to 6 months, and later on, as we move towards discussions on mineral mining and mineral processing, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, together with all the government agencies, are moving towards cutting the permitting process for mining from 11 years to 11 months.
Yeah, these are the practical changes
Yes.
on the ground that we're
Correct.
seeing that will lead to faster growth in the sectors, especially energy, where we need it the most, renewable. If
Yes.
anything, this crisis has highlighted the gaps, and there are opportunities to capitalize on within those gaps. And Kanda-san, how, from the banking side, you have 30 years of experience in this sector. How has that changed? How are things changing on the ground in light of the conflict in the Middle East?
So, yes, our clients and any other foreign companies review their supply chain. So, review the supply chain, and also they are also looking at the renewable energy project as well as their business opportunity. So, and from the financial sector perspective, how we can finance to those projects. Sometimes it's very huge. Sometimes structuring-wise, it's a bit difficult for the banks to finance. So the finance itself is very important.
Financing is very important, especially as Philippine inflation surged to 7.2% in April. That's a 3-year high. And amidst these financing conditions across the region are starting to tighten. How is this changing investment behavior and financing decisions today, Kanda-san?
So yes, it's that's correct. The inflation rate is significantly high, and so as finance is lifeblood in the economy, so we would see how the NPL in the banking sector in the Philippines shows after the Middle East conflict. So maybe BSP will publish the figures in this month. So we carefully watch that figures.
Yeah, absolutely. The banking sector, from the banking sector perspective, a key metric that they look at is the NPL ratio of banks. That's a temperature check in itself. And based on latest data from the BSP, March data will be out soon. But so far, we're looking at February data. And February data, NPL ratio came in at a 6-month high of 3.33%. That was for February. Kanda-san, what does that tell you? The NPL ratio increasing to a 6-month high.
Yeah. So in general, if the NPL ratio is high, then in general the banks change their stance on the taking risk. So it means, as I mentioned, the finance is the lifeblood.
Yes.
So it means it's hard for the Philippine economy to continuously grow. So that's why we carefully watch it.
That's right. It's hard to grow in this environment. Growth is soft already, And then because of the higher NPL ratio of banks, they're going to restrict financing. This, as the BSP is taking a more hawkish stance with inflation at 7.2%. What's your outlook, gentlemen, for the Philippine economy in this environment?
First of all, when we talk about inflation, of course, basically in the Philippines, it's driven by food and fuel, particularly with what's happening in the Middle East, which is why we think that this is really an opportunity for us to accelerate further, as I mentioned earlier, investments and actual implementation of the renewable energy projects, as well as the key components that you would need to empower renewable energy, such as our green metals and green minerals from nickel, copper, and cobalt. So our strategy is to add more value to the mineral extraction that we already have. Just very quickly on energy prices. For example, the project that we were mentioning earlier, the biggest inland solar power project in the world is here in the Philippines. And out of the 3.5 gigawatt capacity that they have applied for in the BOI and the DOE, already 250 megawatts has already been commissioned. Plus now, they have put in place a 4 gigawatt battery energy storage system. So this is a temporary glitch that in the long term, because of its impact on investor sentiment to accelerate action on implementing these renewable energy projects, would lead to eventually lower energy prices in the
So you, Secretary, we've got a lot of things in play. Very exciting on the renewable front, on the energy front. We're seeing the gaps and we're trying to solve them. With everything that's in play now in the pipeline, when will we start feeling the benefits? When will businesses and households start feeling the benefits of lower electricity prices? Because right now, they're not looking too good.
Actually, it will be a mix because, of course, you still do have energy mix coming from the fossil fuel-based energy sources, as well as the commissioning of the renewable energy price. So overall, it will take time. I'm very sorry to say, but it will take time before we really feel the reduction in fuel prices.
How much time? How much time? Just a gauge. I know you can't be too specific.
I would leave that to the Department of Energy. But this is what I can say. For the investors, there are already mitigating measures. Like, for example, the Create More. It has provided incentives so that the investors can have lower power prices.
Yeah, that's right. That was established, Create More, that was established in November of 2024.
Correct.
With a goal to lower corporate taxes to make us more competitive against Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. How have investors responded to this Create More? Is it one of their more favorite projects that the administration has taken on?
Yes. Maybe you can ask Kanda-san later, but indeed from our perspective, it has generated a lot of attention and interest, particularly not just because of it has lowered fiscal rates, but equally important, it has targeted specific challenges that investors had been facing. So, for example, talk about electricity rates. Under the Create More, you do have the possibility of taking advantage of enhanced deductions for power prices. So for power costs. So for example, if before you are paying, you are able to deduct 1 peso from your taxable income. Right now, you can deduct under the Create More 2 pesos. So an additional 100% deduction from your taxable income.
And Kanda-san, let's get it from the investor side, the banking, the finance investment side. The initiatives of this administration, such as the Create More, how has that increased interest in investing in the Philippines?
So I believe the Create More, after the Create More implementation, it attract foreign investors strongly. And now, in terms of the renewable energy sector, so I believe as a bank, so foreign investors shows a very strong interest in the renewable energy sector recently. So I believe that potential deal will be increased soon.
Okay. What about the Create More do investors, specifically Japanese investors,
Mm.
what about it did they like? We're learning from that to see what else we can do.
So other than the Create More, so some of the, let me just introduce the voices from Japanese corporate. So they would like the Philippines to develop the logistics infrastructure and the any custom rules or something. So, but as SMBC have an important MOU with BOI and PESA, so we continuously communicate with government agencies to deliver our clients' voice directly.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of voices, as a bank, let's talk about SMBC and the forecasts for 2026. You know, as we look ahead, you know, we know this oil shock has hit us. We have some back data, but let's look forward. Let's look at the future. What are SMBC's ranges, outlooks for the peso, for GDP, inflation, and interest rates in this environment? What does 2026, the balance of 2026, look to you when we talk about the range for these figures?
Okay. Thank you very much for asking. So let me introduce the SMBC house view of the economic index. Say the FX and dollar peso, the range is 60.75 to 61.25. And the GDP growth, 4.0%. And inflation, 6 to 6.5% in calendar year 2026. And lastly, the policy rate, BSP policy rate is 4.75 to 5%. It's our forecast.
Okay. Now, given these figures, what does this tell you about the environment today and where we're headed?
Well,
okay, go ahead, you Secretary.
Well, actually, we are headed into number one, greater action-oriented implementation of projects. Then policy reform, I already mentioned some of the areas, but this builds on foundations that we have already established even prior to the crisis. Remember, Mikey, even before the crisis, we have passed the Investor Lease Act that now allows investors to lease land for up to 99 years. This has been a very challenging issue for attracting investments before, but now we are at par with our neighbors in terms of they cannot own land, but they can
lease it out for a very long time, which
for 99 years.
Helps.
And then also very specific in terms of specific sectors, the partnerships that I have mentioned. So we have now been part of a global alliance of trusted partners for AI technology. And that is very important because that has allowed us to establish a 4,000-acre AI, the first ever AI native industrial acceleration hub that will be put in Clark. And
this is the time for out-of-the-box solutions. This is the time for creativity. This is the time for opportunity and resilience. Okay, as we focus on resilience, that is the theme of this session. Can you gentlemen remind us, what are the foundations that make the Philippine economy resilient today? And our strength is the strength of ASEAN too.
Okay. For Philippines, 3 key advantages. Number 1, our geographic location. Very strategic, cannot be replicated anywhere else. Number 2, our young, talented workforce. Again, cannot be replicated. The important thing there is how do we enable them in terms of upskilling and upscaling for their training. And then number 3, very important again, and very few countries have this, would be our abundance in resources that are needed to exactly deal with what is happening now, in particular our green metals.
And Kanda-san, would you like to add to what makes the Philippines resilient today?
Philippines is now well positioned in the ASEAN, I believe. So as Perisa mentioned, the young generation and so many elements to attract others. So the another thing is the if we look at the Philippine economy, it's also we have a strong remittance inflows from OFWs.
Yes.
It is also a very unique nation structure, but it gains the foreign currencies. So that's why, from long-term point of view, the foreign companies, investors, see the Philippine market as future growth market, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What more the Philippines need to do? There are a lot of good things already. What more does the Philippines need to do? Especially this administration is winding down already, and everything that we need to do needs to be accelerated as well. What more needs to be done? You, Secretary?
Well, the next, for the remainder of this administration, as I mentioned,
priorities.
focus on 4 key areas, maybe 5 areas. Number 1, implementation of the renewable energy projects that we already have in the pipeline. Number 2 would be, as I mentioned, mining and mineral processing. Then number 3 would be your digital infrastructure, tourism, and then lastly, high-value manufacturing, in particular, semiconductor and electronics.
Okay. And Kanda-san, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, so on top of the logistics infrastructure, as I mentioned, I think I would add the capital market size and the liquidity. So, and also the further digitalization of administrative process, as Felisa mentioned.
Yeah, that's another thing to point out. We talked earlier about the banking perspective and NPL ratios and how it hit a 6-month high in February. But something that we also need to point out is that despite that, the BSP also says that CAR, capital adequacy ratios, are at sufficient levels. Kanda-san, would you like to tell us more about this from your perspective?
So the CAR is one of the important key index for the banking sector, and the CAR CAR in the Philippine banking sector exceed BSP's requirement. So, and the BSP and also the bankers he believes that it's very robust the financials in the Philippine banking sector.
Yeah. It's a very difficult times. Growth has softened. We see it in the numbers. We feel it on the streets. Growth in the first quarter is at 3.4%. Still growth nonetheless. But at the same time, it's still lower than the government's 5 to 6% growth target. How is this environment shaping up? How would you say the balance of 2026 is looking to you based on these figures?
We have to also mention that while it is challenging, there are certain areas that are continually growing. I already mentioned sectors that are growing. May I also bring into the table the strong growth of our exports. The March numbers, March 2026 numbers, that's the latest, has been the highest ever in all of our, since the time that we have collected monthly data for exports since 1981. And this is driven by, let's say, electronics, mineral products, as well as food. We continue to produce items that are needed not just for our domestic market, but also externally. So there are snippets, there are certain sectors that are continually delivering strong growth. So investments, we see that there will be strong growth in particular sectors. Exports, we see that there's an opportunity for us to turn this around and to continue growing our export. Like, Mikey, I've recently been in the Middle East. I've been on a 2-week mission because of 2 things. Number 1, we see that at this very trying time in their region, very important for us to show them that we continue to support them. For them, it really counts for something that we are there in their greatest need. So not just as a partner, but as a strong supporter. And this will continue to enhance our access to their region. And there are certain key developments that will happen within this year. So, for example, when it comes to electric vehicles, there's already been an announcement by a big global Japanese manufacturer that they will be producing here their hybrid SUVs. And Philippines, we are going to issue the electric vehicle incentive scheme. Number two, we are going to issue also the strategic investment priorities plan, marking the first year, that will be 2026, where you have create more incentives side by side with the new strategic investment priorities plan.
Yeah, it's exciting times, and that's what the Philippines wants to attract. We want the factories, we want the data centers, we want the clean energy projects, we want export manufacturing, we want digital services, we just want large-scale FDI. Okay, Kanda-san, what are you looking forward to from SMBC's perspective? What can we look forward to ahead? Anything interesting? Any ODA in the pipeline? What can you tell us that's up ahead?
Yeah. So, what we are trying to do is how we can contribute to attract investors together with government agencies like the BOI. So we had been conducting several the economic events together with BOI, PESA, and also several bilateral meetings between our client in Japan and DTI, BOI, and PESA. So, even what the bank can do is limited. I tried our best to attract the investors together.
Okay.
Maybe, Mikey, if I can just also add, what's very exciting as we look forward to the future would be our integration into the AI tech ecosystem. So, for example, our green metals. Before, we were just looking at our nickel processing. Our ambition is to process it further so that we can produce the batteries here for electric vehicles and for the renewable energy. Now, with the AI, with the advancement, with the global embrace of AI, we can use our green metals to actually be tech metals. Because, for example, data centers would need tons of copper wires. Our copper, which we were positioning before for, let's say, wiring harness for electric vehicles, can now be elevated further, our level of ambition, from just being part of the transition ecosystem, transition to renewable energy, to this transition to AI. So that's very exciting for us because now we have the opportunity for our manufacturing sector to be part of those that are making the components, the hardware for the AI ecosystem. Those that go into data centers, chips, connectors,
the investments,
wirings,
the jobs,
etc.
and all the growth that comes with it. Okay, okay, for the both of you, outlook ahead. In the next 6 to 12 months, what's your base case for investment flows into the Philippines?
Base case would be number one, key sectors would have an accelerated interest. So, for example, as I already mentioned earlier, high-tech manufacturing. Very strong interest from all over the world, especially those that are looking at a more resilient supply chain. Those that are looking at de-risking, for example, their investment that has
Given
been
the China
focused.
+1, you know.
I didn't want to, but yes, indeed. Strong because before, supply chains have been focused on one or two countries. Now the Philippines is in a perfect situation because of our geographic location, workforce, and our key minerals. So for us, we're facing a crisis. It's a grave crisis, but we are not starting from scratch because we have laid down the foundation in terms of policies, in terms of permitting processes, and in terms of partnerships. So this is a time where we are ready to take advantage and accelerate further our transition and implementation of investment projects.
Yeah, that's right. And soft as it may be, we still have growth.
Yes.
We are still growing.
And still one of the highest in the region, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Kanda-san, your base case for investment flows into the Philippines for the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, so we expect specific sector area like, once again, renewable energy, infrastructure, and retail and consumer. and healthcare, digital, and the hope-free manufacturing. Yeah.
Okay, and closing thoughts, your message to everybody watching from the ASEAN today, your message about the ASEAN economy and where we're headed.
Basically, just we can survive this. We can come out of this crisis stronger by working together.
All right, Kanda-san?
Yeah. So, yeah. So we, as a financial institution, will continue to explore the planning and implementation of regular economic and investment-related events for investors to attract to the Philippines, together with the BOI, PESA, and other government agencies. Thank you very much.
Okay, Kanda-san, Yusek Perry, thank you very much for your time today. And with that, we wrap up session 2 on proven resilience, investor confidence in action. Now, from economic zones to global conglomerates, the message from this panel is consistent. The Philippines is not simply weathering global headwinds, it's building on them. For investors looking at Southeast Asia, the case has never been stronger. Stay with us for more sessions and panel discussions of the ASEAN Business Media Exchange 2026.
Whisper in the breeze, it calls our name. Across the seas, we are the same. Through tides that rise, through storms that wane, we sail as one beneath the sun. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
The stars above, they light our way. From golden dawns to dusky grays, we weave the threads of hope today. With every shore, we dream for more.
One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
In 2026, the Philippines takes the helm of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations at a pivotal time for our region, a region of nearly 700 million people poised to become the world's fourth largest economy by 2030. Guided by the theme, Navigating Our Future Together, the ASEAN Philippines 2026 chairship reflects the journey of a region united in diversity, moving forward with shared vision, deeper connection, and renewed purpose. This spirit comes to life in the ASEAN 2026 logo, a symbol rooted in tradition, shaped by innovation, and inspired by the strength of a community charting a common course. At its heart is the Balangay, a pre-colonial Filipino boat reimagined here to represent the ASEAN vessel, many nations aboard one journey, navigating the currents of global transformation side by side. Flowing beneath it is a wave, drawn from the waters that connect our member states. These seas have long carried our trade, our dialogue, and our solidarity. Anchoring the design is a golden rice stalk, a symbol of nourishment, resilience, and our shared pursuit of food security. Look closely. 11 grains line the stalk, each one representing a member state, including Timor-Leste, recently welcomed into our ASEAN family. Interwoven into the design is a weave pattern, reflecting our strength and diversity, cultures, values, and aspirations bound together in one vibrant tapestry of unity and progress. Together, these elements mirror the Philippines' priority as chair, securing peace, building prosperity, and empowering people. This is not just a logo, it's a call to journey forward, navigating
2, and 1. Thank you very much. May we now respectfully invite our ministers to proceed to the meeting area as we continue with the Bimpiaga Leaders Family Photograph. May we once again request Your Majesty and Your Excellencies to face the center camera and share your warmest smiles. In 3, 2, and 1. Thank you, Your Majesty and Your Excellencies. This concludes the official photo session.
It calls our name across the seas. We are the same. Through tides that rise, through storms that wane, we sail as one beneath the sun. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
The stars above, they light our way from golden dawns to dusky grays. We weave the threads of hope today.
Good afternoon, Your Majesty, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great honor that I welcome you to Cebu for this special Bimpiaga Summit. Your presence today reaffirms our shared commitment to cooperation, partnership, and inclusive growth in this sub-region. As we gather today, we look forward with purpose, guided by the Bimpiaga Vision 2035 and its strong alignment with the broader aspirations of ASEAN. This vision is not merely a roadmap for economic integration. It is a promise to our people that development will be meaningful, sustainable, and felt in their daily lives. Today's discussions highlight key milestone programs and projects that are already making a big difference in our communities, creating livelihoods, strengthening connectivity, and expanding opportunities, especially in the sub-region's growth areas. These successes remind us that regional cooperation delivers its greatest value when it uplifts local communities. Let this summit renew our resolve to translate vision into action and plans into lasting impact. Together, let us continue building a more connected, resilient, and prosperous Bimpiaga for present and future generations. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive and inspiring summit. So now, as we proceed to the next agenda, I invite everyone to view a short video presentation highlighting the strategic vision and direction of Bimpiaga Vision 2035.
Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia.